Okay. So this is the rule for the NP. Thank you, Bushra, for recording. And then also we had the rule for the adj P, the adjective phrase, consists of optional adv P and then adj. And we talked about the principle of modification, and we said that modifiers are attached within the phrases they modify, And then we said that the adverb phrase, the adv rule, we have optional adv, then obligatory adv, the head. And then we said, for very quickly, we have to have adv, then higher adv, then another adv, then adv. It is not acceptable to have adv gives adv immediately, because we said the answer, if I ask you why, the answer is that the adv rule specifies that its modifier is another adv, not an adv. And you know, adv is a head, adv is a phrase. So the specifier in this case is a phrase. And also we talked about the head, the concept head, and we said that when we have more than one phrase, everyone has its own head. Adv, then we have, this is the adjective is the head of the adv, and the adverb is the head of the adv. The same thing if we have two advs, so this is the head of the higher adv, and this very is the head of the lower adv. Each one has its own adv, its own head. The revised principle of modification that we said, this xp must be a sister to y. So the modifier here, the xp, the modifier must be a sister to the head being modified, i.e., both are daughters of the higher YP, let's say, whether it is an AdP or AdP or NP or TP and so on. And we said that AdP and Adj are sisters. They have the same mother. AdP is the mother of AdP. AdP is the grandmother of Adv. Adv is the the granddaughter of AdP. And Adj is the aunt of Adv. So far we have three phrase structure rules: NP rule, AdP rule, AdP rule. Now, another simple rule, phrase structure rule, is the PP rule. As you know, in English, in most cases, whenever we have a preposition, what do we have? 101 answer?
Noun.
We must have an NP. What do we call it?
Noun phrase.
Yes, noun phrase. What do we call it? 101 answer. Remember, in 101.
Object
the noun following the preposition is what?
Object of a preposition.
Yes, exactly. Object of a preposition. Thank you. So here we have, to the store is a prepositional phrase. To is the head, P, preposition, and the store is an NP. With an X, the same thing, with preposition and X and P. Behind the rubber tree, behind is the preposition, the rubber tree is the NP. Okay. And this is the 3-4 with an X. So everything is a PP. So to start with, the PP rule seems to be P and P. P and P. P and P. And the tree, prepositional phrase, then we have the branch, P, the preposition. A prepositional phrase is a phrase headed by a preposition. So the head is the obligatory element. So the obligatory element is the preposition. And then we have the NP, determiner, and noun X. But is it the case that we have, syntactically speaking, we have an NP after the preposition? Consider 34A and B and C. I haven't seen him before. I blew it up. I threw the garbage out. So these are prepositions, syntactically speaking. Now, where's the NP, object of a preposition? So it seems no object of a preposition. So we need to change the rule. So instead of saying PP consists of obligatory P, obligatory NP, we make it obligatory P and optional NP. In this case, in most cases we have NP, then it is there. And in the case I haven't seen it before, then also we make this is optional, so can be deleted. So this is the PP rule. So NP rule, HP rule, HP rule, number 4, PP rule consists of P and optional NP in English. Remember that I said this, and I'm going to say this again because this is very important. Phrase structure rules apply to all natural languages. English, Arabic, French. But here remember that our department is Department of English Language and Literature. That's why we focus on the phrase structure rules of English. So these phrase structure rules are the phrase structure rules of English. But in principle, phrase structure rules apply to all natural languages. But are they exactly the same phrase structure rules? So the answer is no. Because the phrase structure rules of Arabic are different from the phrase structure rules of English. The HP rule in Arabic, for example, if I ask you just this question, what is the HP rule in Arabic? What is the HP rule in Arabic? HP in Arabic. Zaid?
In Arabic, the noun precedes the adjective.
In Arabic, yes, the noun, then the adjective, right. So the HP rule in Arabic is what?
We have an adjective
Okay.
phrase, and from this adjective phrase, we have it branches a noun, then an adjective.
Yes. So in this case, okay. In this case, in the adjective phrase in Arabic, what do we have? We have first, we have the adjective itself, because it is the head. And then we can say طويل, جميل. Can we have anything else?
The noun?
No.
Can I say something?
No, if we say ولد طويل, then this is what? A noun phrase. Because ولد is the head.
Noun phrase.
Hamza?
I thought the walad is a noun phrase and
Yes.
طويل is an adjective phrase, but they are
You're right. You're right. You're right, Hamza.
different phrases.
Excellent, Hamza. Excellent. Yes. If we say الولد طويل or الطويل or whatever, in this case, this is one NP. And within this NP, we have an HP, age طويل. So الولد طويل, this is an NP.
فهمت دكتور يعني عكس
No, I mean, I know that your answer is excellent, Hamza. And by the way, how are you today?
I think I am better.
Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, quick recovery.
Has been
Okay.
appeared.
Okay.
I am positive for corona.
Okay, but you seem to, I mean, just you seem okay. You seem fine, inshallah. And you, inshallah, wish you a quick recovery.
Inshallah,
Now,
doctor,
as
thank
Hamza mentioned, you're welcome. As Hamza mentioned, الولد طويل or الطويل or whatever, this is an NP. Within this NP, we have another HP, which is HP age طويل. But I'm asking about the adjective phrase itself. What can we have in the adjective phrase? Zaid, I think you raised your hand before.
No, doctor, nothing.
Okay. Think in Arabic. What in other words? What can modify an adjective?
Doctor, can I say something? I'm not really sure if it's related, but I'm gonna shoot it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe you were referring to determiners. In the case of Arabic, if we have determiner for the noun and this noun is being modified by an adjective, then the adjective must have the same determiner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually in Arabic, the grammatical categorization of words is much simpler than English. In English, we have, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 parts of speech, but in Arabic, we have only 3, and adjectives are categorized as nouns in Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
So when the noun within the sentence or within the adjective phrase or the MP phrase or whatever is being modified by a definite article, because for sure in Arabic we don't have indefinite articles, then the same adjective that modifies this noun should have the same level of being definite.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice. Because adjectives in English, adjectives in Arabic can be adjectives in Arabic can be what? Can be
صفة وحال ونعت هيك قصدك دكتور؟
Yeah, I mean, we can use the definite article with them, right?
Yes.
We say الولد الطويل, but also we can say الولد الطويل.
الولد حال.
Yeah, الولد طويل. The function, Hamza. But here, syntactically speaking, we talk about the form itself. So, why did you forget? We say طويل جدا, جميل جدا.
Oh yeah,
and
the intensifier.
جدا is an intensifier. It's an adverb. So this is the rule in Arabic. We can have an optional D, but maybe it is not a purely D. It's not a purely D because here it is a definite article. That's why I'm fine if you say HP, optional adv P. You see the order? The adjective, then the adverb. جميل جدا. So the adjective, then the adverb. So Arabic has the first structure rules, but these rules are different from the first structure rules of English. This is my point. Now, so the PP rule, the final rule is prepositional phrase consists of obligatory P and then optional NP. I think this is very clear for you. Now we move to, I'm not saying the most difficult, but I would say the longest. Imagine this is syntax and only we have half of the students, 55 out of 100. Okay. So the verb phrase, the PP rule, the VP rule is not the most difficult, but right, it is the longest because we can have many things that go under the VP. Many things that go under the VP. What is a VP? A VP is the verb phrase is a phrase headed by
Verb.
a verb. So the verb is the only obligatory element in that phrase. That's why it's enough to say in a sentence like Ignatius left, it's enough to say left here is the verb, and it's just in the tree, VP, branch, the line, this line, and then V, and then left. John smiled. The same thing, smiled, VP, V, smiled. This is good for intransitive verbs. Also, we can say Ignatius left quickly. So in the VP left quickly, we have what? A verb, and we have an adverb. And the adverb modifies what? 101 question.
Modifies the verb.
Yes, it is an adverb of manner. How did Ignatius leave? Quickly. This means that we can have an optional adp after the verb. So we change the rule. VP consists of obligatory V and optional adp. Also, sorry, we can say Ignatius quickly left. Ignatius quickly left. What does this mean? This means that we have the adverb here is before the verb, and it modifies the verb. So according to the principle of modification, the adp is attached within the VP. So the VP here is quickly left. So we can say Ignatius left quickly. Ignatius quickly left. This means that we can have the adverb before or after the verb. Not only that, consider 38b. Ignatius deliberately always left quietly early. So in this case, we have two adverbs before and then the verb, and then we have two adverbs after the verb. In this case, we need to change the rule. What does the rule? Now, in this case, we say we can have an adverb before, we can have an adverb after, but also not only one, we can have 1, 2, 3, so we add a plus. So we say the VP rule consists of optional adp plus, then obligatory V, then optional adp plus. And this is the tree for deliberately always left quietly early. The VP has 5 daughters, adp, adp, V, adp, adp, and here you see the verb, all of them modify the verb, so all of them must be attached within the VP. So, I mean, someone might ask, why do we have one branch for adp, another branch for adp? Why don't we have the adp, just one adp, and under this adp we have another adp here, then add deliberately, then add always? Why do we need two? Surah.
I think because each one of them is a constituent itself.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And so what does this mean, Surah? This means that we can't do this, because if we do this, it is possible, by the way, it is possible according to the phrase structure rules. But the problem is what? The problem is if we do this and we have one adv, then from this adv, we have another adv, adv deliberately and adv always. This means what? That deliberately modifies always.
That they
Because
modify each other. And
yes, because
Yes,
it is attached within the higher adv, and this is not true. Because deliberately here, deliberately modifies the verb, and always modifies the verb, and quietly modifies the verb, and early modifies the verb. So all of them, remember, modifiers are always attached within the phrase they modify. So left, so someone might ask, yes, you said that they modify the verb left. So why aren't they attached within the V? How can we answer this question?
can question, please?
Surah?
Yes, can you repeat the question, please?
Now, if we say deliberately, always, quietly, early, all of them modify the verb left. So why they are not attached to under V? Why are they attached under VP? This is syntax. You need to think.
Because they modify the verb left.
Yes, they do. They modify the verb left. But why don't we attach them under V?
Can I say something, doctor?
Zaid?
Yes. For the same reason, we don't classify, or we don't put the adjective under the noun. Like in which we have an NP in which the noun is being modified by an adjective, we put the adjective and the noun in under different branches. Simply, the adverb is not a verb. It's not a verb, so it cannot be branched from a verb.
Nice. Yes, Zaid, right. But the answer is even easier. Like we say, modifiers. Sora, you want to say something?
No.
Okay. Now remember, modifiers are always attached within what?
The head.
Phrase.
Within the phrase. Within the phrase, underline phrase, the word phrase. Within the phrase they modify. Is V a phrase?
No.
V is a head. And VP is the phrase. We said anything with P, XP, XP, and this X is like seen in mathematics. XP can be NP, XP can be VP, XP can be HP, XP can be ADP. So NP, PP, HP, ADP, TP, CP, PP, these are phrases. So yes, they modify the verb left. They should be attached within the phrase they modify. That's why all of them must be attached within the VP, meaning all these adverb phrases and the verb, they belong to the same verb phrase. They belong to the same verb phrase. Okay. Now, this is good for intransitive verbs where we have only the verb and we can have some adverbs modifying the verb, one or more than one adverb to modify the verb. But what about transitive verbs, monotransitive verbs and ditransitive verbs? Remember in chapter 2, when we talked about subcategories and features, we talked about the features of monotransitive verbs, that in most cases they take the feature square bracket NP underscore NP, with the first NP being the subject underscore the verb and the other NP being the object. Now, in this case, we need an NP after the verb. And here we said that we can have the verb, then add P plus. If the verb is transitive, then the NP must be immediately, must appear immediately after the verb and before any adverb. So we change the rule now. It becomes VP consists of adp plus, then obligatory V, then an optional NP, then optional adp plus. So this NP must be, it is not an option. This NP must be after the verb and before the adverb. So if you use it here wrong, if you use it here wrong, V NP, then if we have an adp, it comes after the NP. In other words, never separate the verb from its NP when we have an adverb. Why do we have it optional NP, not obligatory NP?
دكتور ممكن تعيد هذه النقطة أغلبك؟
Why is it, yeah, why is it an optional NP, not obligatory NP, Surah?
Because this rule is in general, and verbs can be divided into verbs that require NP and verbs that do not require NP.
Perfect, excellent, excellent. Yes, this is the right answer.
Doctor, because there is a transitive verb and intransitive verbs.
Yes, Hamza, exactly. Ala?
Because we have intransitive and intransitive verb, as Hamza said.
Yeah, exactly. So we make it optional, because if the verb is intransitive, then there is no need for this NP. If it is transitive, then we need the NP. But if we make it obligatory, then we exclude intransitive verbs, and this is wrong. Now, Hamza and everyone, if we have an NP object, then this NP must be immediately, you see the word immediately, after the verb and before any adverbs.
Because the verb is transitive.
Yes. C40B. Bill frequently kissed his mother-in-law. Now we have Bill subject NP, then frequent. So if I ask you in the exam, Bill frequently kissed his mother-in-law, what is the VP? Kissed his mother-in-law, kissed alone, kissed his mother-in-law, or frequently kissed his mother-in-law?
If frequently kissed his mother-in-law.
So we need to add the ad. So the adverb is part of the VP. Why? Because the adverb frequently modifies kissed, not Bill. So frequently here modifies the verb, not the subject. That's why it should be according to the principle of modification. The frequently here must be part of the VP, frequently kissed his mother-in-law. So the adverb, then the verb, then the NP. His mother-in-law is NP, his is the D, and for now take mother-in-law, you know the meaning of mother-in-law, Hama, so as a noun. So his mother-in-law is one NP, his is the D, and mother-in-law is the N. Now consider 40C. Bill kissed his mother-in-law quietly.
mother-in-law بنعاملها كاسم واحد.
Yes. For now, Hamza. For now, because this is not advanced syntax, this is kind of, we are taking or discussing the basics. So it's enough to say, to take it as one noun. So kissed his mother-in-law quietly. So here we have the verb, then the NP, then the adverb. That's why this sentence is correct. But what about, you see the asterisk here or the star? Remember, what does it mean in syntax? That the sentence is ill-formed. Now, what's the problem in Bill kissed quietly his mother-in-law? Yara?
Because the noun must come immediately after the verb and before any adverb.
Excellent. So the problem here in this sentence.
Call it the dangling modifier, right, doctor?
Not because it is a dangling modifier, Zaid. We say that quietly here, it dangles between what, Zaid? So quietly here modifies the verb kissed.
Yes, but she is far away from the verb. It is very near from the noun.
So the answer is simply, the problem in this sentence is the adverb. Just, you say maybe 5-6 words. The adverb separates the NP from the V. 6 or 7 words. Or you can say the NP must be immediately, or must appear immediately after the verb and before the adverb. This is the problem in this sentence. So the problem here is that the adverb quietly is used before the NP mother-in-law. And this is not possible. Yes, exactly. Now this is the tree for the VP kisses mother-in-law quietly. So everything is the VP, and the VP has 3 daughters, the verb kissed, and then the NP his mother-in-law, and the adp quietly. So here D is attached within the NP. Why? Because it modifies the head and mother-in-law. So D is attached within the NP, not the N, because we need a phrase. So D is attached within the NP, not within the VP, because it modifies the noun. Now the whole NP is attached within the VP because the whole NP modifies the verb. So like we say, kissed what? The answer is his mother-in-law. So his mother-in-law modifies the verb. And because the verb is ahead, we don't attach it under the V, we attach it under the VP. This is the case for monotransitive verbs. Now remember that we have ditransitive verbs like spare. Do you still remember in chapter 2 that spare is a verb that has, or a predicate that has valency over 3 arguments. square bracket NP underscore NP, then square bracket. So one NP, the subject before the verb, then the verb or the predicate, then two NPs, direct and indirect object. The same thing. No adverbs between them and the verb. So both these NPs must come between the verb and any adverbs. The adverb shouldn't separate the NPs from the verb. Okay. So we need to add something to the rule to include, because if we say just V, then optional NP, we exclude ditransitive verbs. To include them, we change the rule and we say VP consists of optional ADP plus, obligatory V, optional NP, then optional ADP plus. In this order, NP, then ADP. The ADP cannot precede the NPs and separate them from the verb. Now I have a question for you. Why don't you say NP plus, optional NP plus? Why do we say optional NP, optional NP?
Can I say something?
Yes, Zaid?
Simply because when we say NP plus, the plus can mean 2 or more. So it can be 2,
Excellent.
3, 4, 5, yes. But in the cases of object of the objects of a verb, we can't have more than 2 objects because we have in terms of being a transitive, verbs are either intransitive, monotransitive, or ditransitive.
Excellent. Yes, exactly. This is the answer. Because if we add a plus, this means we can have 2, 3, 4, 5. So the clean plus allows you to have as many as you want. But here in the VP rule, how many NPs can we have after the verb?
Just 2.
A maximum of 2. A maximum of 2.
A maximum of 2.
Yes, a maximum of 2 NPs. We can have 0, we can have 1, we can have 2, no more than 2. That's why if we want to write the VP rule for Arabic, then maybe we need more than 2 NPs. What is the maximum in Arabic? According to grammarians, although this is a little bit argumentative. So for the verb tell in Arabic, أخبر, like we say, أخبرني علي أباه مريضا. In this case, according to the syntacticians, that we have يا is ضمير متصل مبني في محل نصب مفعول به أول. أباه أبا is ضمير is مفعول به ثاني منصوب بالألف لأنهم الأسماء الخمسة. And then وهو مضاف لها مضاف إليه and مريضا. According to some syntacticians, they say, or grammarians, they say that this is مفعول به ثالث. Some say this is حال, but some say this is 3 objects. So the maximum in Arabic, maybe according to grammarians, can be 3 NPs, three argument NPs. But in English, the maximum is 2. The maximum number is 2. That's why here we need optional NP, optional NP. We don't say optional NP plus, because if we add a plus, then we mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 NPs, but this is not true. That's why we need to have the rule like this. Optional ADP plus, the head V, obligatory, and then optional NP, then ADP plus. And this is the tree for spare the student an embarrassment yesterday. Everything is under VP. The VP has four daughters, V, NP, ADP. So spare is the verb, and NP, ADP modify spare. Spare is the head, cannot take cannot take the NP and the ADP under it. So it is under the VP. So the VP here has one branch for V, then we have NP, DN, then another NP, DN, then the ADP is after that. Remember also in ditransitive verbs, we have verbs like put. Put require what? Verbs like put. Verbs like put require, Surah?
A PP.
Yes, 3 arguments has, so put has a valency over three arguments. One of them is the subject. Then we have NP and PP. Remember, we said that the predicate determines not only the number of arguments, but also the category of the arguments, what can be used or what can follow the predicate. So here we must have, after tell, after spare, we must have 2 NPs. But after tell, we have 1 NP, 1 PP. That's why they can be indirect object or they can be simply prepositional phrases. So if we say in 424A, Bill frequently got his buckets from the store for $1, in this case, we have Bill the subject, then frequently got his buckets from the store for $1. This is the VP. We have the adverb frequently, then we have the verb got, then we have the object, his buckets, then we have 1 PP from the store, another PP for $1. And also, of course, we can have more than 2 from the store. In my neighborhood for $1. We can have 2, 3, 4, 5 prepositional phrases. That's why we need to change the rule one more time. But remember here, the PP is flexible, more flexible than the NP. The PP can be before or after the verb, the adverb. So these PPs can appear either, you see the word either, after an adverb or before it. So the rule becomes VP consists of optional ADP plus, obligatory V, optional NP, optional NP, optional ADP plus, optional PP plus, then optional ADP plus. Be careful here. We don't mean that we must have or we can have. So this means that if we take it like this, optional ADP plus, optional PP plus, that's fine. So the adverb or adverbs, then the preposition or prepositional phrases. Or if we take it like this, it's fine. The preposition, the prepositional phrase or phrases, then the adverb phrase or phrases. And this is the 3 for frequently got his buckets from the store for $1. Everything is under the VP. Then we have ADP, V, NP, PP, PP, all of them under VP. They are sisters. They have the same method. They all modify. Why do we have all of them under VP? Because they modify the verb got. So frequently modifies got. The NP, his buckets, modifies got what? His buckets. From where? From the store. How much? For $1. So all of them, the ADP and the NP and the PP and the other PP modify the verb. And we said we can't have them under the verb. We must have them under the phrase they modify. So ADP, NP, PP, PP, they modify the verb phrase. So they must be within the VP. So one branch for ADP, add frequently, one branch for V got, one branch for NP, then D and N his buckets, then another branch for PP from the store, where we have PPP from, and then NP the store, and another branch for the PP, which is P4 and then NP $1. So be careful here, because the two PPs here must be attached within the VP. Remember in the NP rule, we said we can have optional D, then optional HP plus, then obligatory, and then optional PP plus. So the PP is what we call mushtarak, or can be under the NP and can be under the VP. So we need to be careful. So if the PP modifies the verb, it is under the VP. If the PP modifies the noun, then it must be under the NP. In this case, we have from the store and for $1, both modify the verb. But imagine, what if I give you this sentence? Consider this sentence. Bill frequently got his buckets from the store in my neighborhood. So we have from the store is one prepositional phrase. In my neighborhood is another prepositional phrase. Now the question is, do we attach both PPs to the VP or what? If we say from the store in my neighborhood.
From the store in my neighborhood. In my neighborhood is attached to from the store.
Excellent, Hamza. Yes. Right.
Thanks, doctor.
Excellent, yes.
Ala Jihad taught me while I am very sick.
Okay, and thank you for you, Jihad. Ala, thank you very much. Ala Jihad Ben Isa, thank you. Ala, you want to say something?
No, doctor, thank you.
And yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ala. So yeah, I mean, this is the perfect answer. If we say from the store in my neighborhood, so when we say which store, in the one in my neighborhood. So in my neighborhood modifies the store. It doesn't modify got. So we say from the store, this prepositional phrase modifies got. Like we say, Bill got his buckets. From where? From the store. So from the store modifies getting, the place of getting. So it modifies the verb. That's why we keep the adp add frequently, the verb got, the NP his buckets. We keep the PP and P from the store, but the difference is we don't attach the last PP from the VP, we attach it from this VP, from this NP, from this NP, from this NP, from here. We say D, N, then we have from here, we have PP, and it is P, N, then NP, my D, and the neighborhood now. This is not the final, but for now, as I told you, we are going to add something to the NP rule and something to the VP rule when we start, or when we take clauses. But for now, I want you to know this, that the VP consists of an adp plus verb. I'm reading while I'm closing my eyes, because I always tell my students that you need to memorize these golden rules as you memorize, as you know your name. But not only memorize, I want you to memorize and understand, of course. So the VP rule consists of adp plus optional add P plus, obligatory V, optional NP, optional NP, then optional add P plus, optional PP plus, optional add P plus. Inshallah, next time we will start talking about clauses. We move to the TP, the whole sentence, and then under the TP, what do we have under the TP, NP and VP, and then we move to the CP, the complementizing phrase, and then we are going to modify or add something to the TP rule, and then when we modify this, we have to modify the VP rule and add something here. So the VP rule, the VP, we need to modify the VP rule. Like for now, we said optional add P plus, obligatory V, optional NP, add P plus, PP plus, add P plus, optionally. So the only thing we are going to change is here. Instead of saying optional NP, we have to say either optional NP or CP, because the object can be, or the second NP can be a complementizer phrase. Like we can say, Hamza asked me if I knew the answer. So if I knew the answer is not an NP, it is a CP. Inshallah, we'll talk more about this later. The last thing I want to say about this is just to remind you of the quiz, please. Just to remind you of the quiz. Inshallah, it's going to be on Sunday, 28th of March, 2021 at 8 p.m., please, at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. I chose 8 because there will be no, instead of saying at the Zoom meetings time, because at 2, the Zoom will be overloaded, or the e-learning, sorry, the e-learning will be overloaded, and maybe you will have some problems. That's why I chose 8. There will be no Zoom meetings, and the users, the number of users maybe will be not as much as during the day. And the topics that we discussed in chapter 2, main parts of a speech, then lexical functional, open, closed, and then subcategories and features. And thank you very much, and have a nice weekend, and take care and be safe. Do you have any questions?
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
الله يعافيك. Thank you very much.
Question please.
Hussam?
Yes, the quiz will be to what we took today, right?
No, Hussam. I said only the topics that we discussed in chapter 2. So chapter 3 is not included.
Chapter 2. But...
Only the topics that we discussed in chapter 2, please. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Only the topics we discussed in chapter 2. Yara, there will be 10 multiple choice or yes, no questions.
Doctor, can you give us more than 10 minutes, at least 5 minutes?
Sorry?
Can you give us more than 10 minutes, at least 5 minutes?
The problem, Sora, is that I see what you mean, that sometimes you have some problems with e-learning. I chose 8 to avoid such problems. But in fact, Sora, I'm afraid that if I give extra 5 minutes, then, you know, some students will seek help. Don't worry, Sora, don't worry. Believe me, the 10 questions for an excellent student like you, maybe you need 5-6 minutes to answer them. So I'm already giving you more time than you need. علا.
يس دكتور. دكتور بدي أحكي لك إنه آخر assignment سلمته بعد وقته بنص ساعة.
That's fine. Don't worry. So 30 minutes, 1 hour, that would be fine. No problem.
Yes, بس هيك.
No problem. No
Okay,
problem.
thank
Mohammed.
you,
No
thank you,
problem.
دكتور.
You're very welcome. Okay, so thank you very much and have a nice weekend. And
Thank you, Doctor.
take care, everyone. Hamza in particular, inshallah, quick recovery, and thank you very much.
Allah bless you, Doctor.
Thank you. All of us, inshallah.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
Allah يعافيكم. Thank you.